Welcome, everyone, to a special edition of Days of Roar, a Detroit Tigers podcast brought to you by the Detroit Free Press. My name is Evan Petzold, and I'm joined by a special guest for a special episode to recap the winter meetings in Dallas, Texas. Our guest is Bob Nightengale, USA TODAY Sports Major League Baseball columnist and an insider for all things happening on the free agent and trade markets. Thanks for joining us, Bob. We're both back home from the winter meetings. How are you doing after a busy 3 days in Dallas?
Yeah, it was a good winter meetings. You know, someone says, how would you grade it? I said, probably B+. It was a good one, particularly with the Soto and pre-contracts and a lot of activity, a lot more than a year ago.
So I've covered 3 winter meetings since I started as the Tigers beat writer in July 2020. I covered the winter meetings in San Diego in 2022 at the Manchester Grand Hyatt, Nashville in 2023 at the Gaylord Opryland, and now Dallas in 2024 at the Hilton and Atoll. I want to get your opinion. What is your favorite location of those 3 that I listed?
San Diego. You get to walk outside. It's always good weather. Usually you never get, even smell fresh air. Remember the one back in the same hotel in 2000 when A-Rod signed. I don't think I smelled fresh air until I got a cab on the way to the airport. That was it. But yeah, San Diego's a good environment. Easy to walk around, get some air. You don't get outside much. It's not like you're enjoying a lot of things, but it's a nice setup.
So we have a lot to discuss, but I want to start with the Detroit Tigers. What did you think about the Tigers' run to the postseason in 2024? They traded Jack Flaherty, among other players at the trade deadline. They went on a 31-11 run to clinch a wild card spot. Ended up winning a playoff series against the Houston Astros. What do you think about how everything went down in 2024 for the Tigers?
Yeah, it was stunning the way they finished like that, especially when they traded away Jack Flaherty. I mean, you trade away a Flaherty, means, hey, you're giving up. And I still kind of wonder what would have happened if they kept Flaherty. Would they have gone to the World Series? I don't know, they were going to be the Dodgers. But yeah, it reminded me of the St. Louis Cardinals in 06, a little bit 2011 too, when they made the playoffs so much at the end. They didn't even have an advanced scout on the road to watch playoff teams. And I was told the same thing the Tigers. They had nobody on the road scouting their opponents.
That's incredible. So the Tigers signed Alex Cobb. We'll get into that. But to kind of lay the groundwork for the offseason with Detroit, what do you think the Tigers still need to do this offseason if they want to get back to the postseason and ultimately win the World Series? They've checked one box in Alex Cobb, but from your opinion, what still needs to be on the to-do list?
Well, you can still get some more starting pitching. I mean, you need depth. I love Alex Cobb, great person. Just don't know how healthy he's going to be. He's had a lot of injury problems. So I would think you'd have to get at least another mid-tier starter. I know there have been talks with Alex Bregman. If you don't get Bregman, I'm not sure that's a good fit there. Go get another third baseman. I think we'll see a movement, a little bit this weekend, perhaps early next week before the Christmas holidays, and then a ton of activity in January. Because a lot of these free agents, no one's even talking to them yet because they want to get the big boys up the other way.
The Tigers signed right-hander Alex Cobb to a 1-year, $15 million contract. He has incentives that can push the deal to $17 million. It's $1 million for 140 innings and another $1 million for 150 innings. What does that contract tell you about the pitching market? And what do you think about the Tigers landing Cobb to be a veteran presence in the starting rotation that's anchored by 2024 Cy Young winner Tarik Skubal?
Well, certainly a great veteran influence in the clubhouse. I've been around for a long time, different spots, but a marvelous guy. The teammates will love him there. The media will love him there. Straight shooter, down to earth. But he's sort of going to stay healthy. He's had trouble with doing that over the years. That's why I think they got to sign another starter. I mean, look at the Dodgers last year. They had 7 or 8 going into the season. Yeah, at the end of the season, they're down to 3 bodies, and that was it. So I think you need some more. But to your point, $15 million is like Nick Martinez, getting the qualifying offer, say, I'll take that. But there are a lot of instances where no one's really done anything, and gotten that kind of money. I don't think we even thought Blake Snell was going to get, the $182 million he did, just because, he had such a horrible first half.
How do you feel about the state of the American League Central heading into the 2025 season? The Tigers have expressed interest that they want to win the AL Central. They have finished in 3rd place in 2024 behind the Cleveland Guardians and Kansas City Royals. You also have the Minnesota Twins in the mix. What are some of those other teams doing this offseason, and how do you see things shaking out in 2025?
Well, I think the Tigers would be the favorite, maybe prohibitive favorite for sure. Cleveland, I mean, they're cutting back payroll. The fact they traded Giménez, that was unbelievable. Kind of they want to get rid of the money. Talking about making more moves too by trading Naylor. I hope they don't trade Naylor now, but we'll see. They're kind of operating their margins. Minnesota Twins aren't spending any money. We'll see about Kansas City. Spent a lot last winter. They did bring back Michael Wacha. So, right now, just, standing here, I would think it's a two-team race between Kansas City and Detroit. I guess I shouldn't completely rule out Cleveland, but I think Detroit, the way they finish everything else, I really do believe they're the team to beat in the division.
I need to make sure we touch on Alex Bregman because that's someone Tigers fans want to know everything about. Obviously, he seems like a good fit for the Tigers. He's a Gold Glove third baseman who hits in the middle of the lineup. The Tigers need more punch in their offense. They have an opening at third base. Yes, they do have a young player in Jace Young there, but the Tigers aren't sure about his defense at third base. He does have some holes on offense. Alex Bregman fills both of those needs. He is a Gold Glove caliber third baseman, and he will hit in the middle of your lineup. But he's not going to be cheap. And I bet there's going to be a lot of teams that had interest in him. I'm told the Tigers have had discussions about Bregman and the conversations are ongoing, but they don't want to pay $200 million, which is what Alex Bregman wants. The word on the street is Bregman already has a 6-year, $156 million offer on the table to re-sign with the Houston Astros, where he has spent his entire career. But I'm also told Bregman has interest in the Tigers, where he would reunite with his former manager in A.J. Hinch. What can you tell me about Bregman's market? And do you think the Tigers have a chance to sign him?
I need the Tigers to be a real long shot. I mean, the market would have to cave. To me, it's not that good of a fit. It's a big ballpark there. I think the best fits is either, staying in Houston is the best fit in Boston with the Green Monster. He's taking advantage of that, those Crawford boxes, short left field in Houston. That's not going to happen in Detroit. It's like, I don't think it's a real good fit for him in New York either, for the Yankees for the same reason. So I think it'd be better, elsewhere. I just don't see a fit with the Tigers and Bregman. I really don't.
Sounds like the Astros are willing to trade Kyle Tucker, who becomes a free agent after the 2025 season. What are you hearing there? And how does that impact Bregman, whether it's with the Tigers or a different team? Like, is it more likely Bregman returns to the Astros or less likely Bregman returns to the Astros if Tucker is or isn't there?
I think more likely. I think it'd be a tough sell to the fans. Okay, we just got rid of two of your best players. Bregman is very popular there. The Astro fans have absolutely loved him. I think he lives in Phoenix now, but still, I think someone's got to blow him away to sign. It could be the Red Sox. I know the 6 years at 156 is, that's dead on. That's what it is. But we'll see if they go up to 7 years at 180 something. That may bridge the gap. So I see him either staying in Houston or going to Boston. I have a hard time seeing him somewhere else.
And you're right about the Crawford boxes too, right? Like the way that they play there in Houston, Fenway Park with the Green Monster. Those are both great ballpark environments for Alex Bregman to rake. So according to Bob Nightengale, it sounds like Houston Astros or Boston Red Sox maybe being the front runners for Alex Bregman. We'll see what happens. If we're going to talk about Alex Bregman, we have to talk about Nolan Arenado, third baseman for the St. Louis Cardinals. Do you think he could be a better fit for the Tigers?
I think it could be. Certainly great defense, better defense than Bregman, obviously. Got up there in age, he had not a bad season, but mediocre offensive season. Bad for him. Second, probably worse since his second year in the big leagues in 2014. Still a win. So I think it'd be a good fit. The trouble is he's got a no trade clause. I'm not sure he'd weigh it for Detroit, but we didn't think that Justin Verlander was going to trade his no trade for Houston either.
The other thing, too, with Arenado is it's 3 years remaining on his contract worth $74 million. Now, his former team, the Colorado Rockies, is responsible for a little bit of that. But this is still a 3-year, $74 million contract. How does he end up with the Tigers then if that is a place that he does want to go?
I'm sure the Cardinals would eat some of it, at least maybe $10 million, $15 million of it, that sort of thing. They'd eat more, depending on the quality of prospects the Tigers gave up. So I think the big thing would just be convincing Nolan to waive that thing. He lives in California, in Arizona. So we'll see. I just don't know. I think it would have to take some convincing that, hey, there's no other team in place. And also you probably have to get some recruiting pitches from teammates, A.J. Hinch and everybody else, just to say, hey, we really need you here and we're going to win. There's no reason for him to go anywhere unless this team is committed to winning right away.
Bob, let's dig into some of the national news that happened at the winter meetings. The biggest one being outfielder Juan Soto. He signed a 15-year, I can't believe I'm saying this, $765 million contract with the New York Mets. How did that come together? Because there were at least 5 teams seriously in the mix for Soto. And back when Juan Soto turned down a 15-year, $440 million offer from the Washington Nationals in 2022, did you ever expect he would be signing for more than $750 million in 2024?
No, I thought he'd get over $500 million. It made sense. Okay, maybe he's the first $500 million guy. I mean, Harper was in the 300s, and so is Machado. So it's okay, 500 is still a big jump. The biggest was Trout. Trout was making $360, got $360 million contract. Kind of reworked the $60 million already had of the deal. But we haven't even had a $500 million player or a $600 million player, but now we've got 2 $700 million players. I thought he'd get 550 tops. I didn't think he'd even cross 600, let alone 765. But the perfect storm. He had 4 big market teams. The Dodgers really never in there. They just kind of played around. But I mean, when you have the Mets and Yankees, over 700, Toronto Blue Jays were over 700. Boston was at $700 million neighborhood. So it wasn't like Alex Rodriguez back in the day when the Texas Rangers played against themselves. They had some real competition, and just everybody just kept driving it up and up and up. Personally, I think the Yankees, at least be a blessing in disguise for the Yankees. They did not go back to them because they couldn't have done anything else. Now they signed Max Fried. They're going to go to get third baseman, maybe sign Christian Walker at first, get some bullpen help. They can spread that money around.
The Boston Red Sox acquired left-hander Garrett Crochet from the Chicago White Sox for 4 highly regarded prospects: catcher Kyle Teal, outfielder Braden Montgomery, infielder Chase Midroth, and right-hander Wakelman Gonzalez. How did that trade come to be? And what do you think about Crochet joining the AL East? And on top of that, what do you know about the prospects that are coming back to the White Sox in the AL Central? Because the Tigers will be seeing some of those players in the future.
Yeah, the White Sox obviously tried to trade them last summer and couldn't get what they wanted. They were worried about the innings limit, and he wanted an extension. So, never got the interest. This time it came down to 5 teams. It was the New York Yankees, Cincinnati Reds, Atlanta, obviously Boston. And, they thought that, hey, we want top prospects for this guys. And Philadelphia was in there too. And, the Phillies would not give them up. White Sox wanted Andrew Painter, their top pitching prospects. Phillies said no. It was pretty much shut down. They thought they were eventually going to get a deal done with the Yankees. But when the Yankees signed Max Fried, and that's who Boston wanted, then Boston panicked and said, okay, you know what? Let's jump in this thing. And they, about 10:30 on Wednesday morning, made the call and bumped up that offer. Gave up 4 of their top 14 prospects. 2 guys were top 50, top 60 among all of baseball prospects. So I think they did good. It's kind of a history repeating himself. So it was almost 8 years to the day. They traded Chris Hill to the Red Sox for 4 prospects. The prospects were bust with the White Sox, and Chris Hill helped them to a World Series championship.
Left-hander Max Fried signed an 8-year, $218 million contract with the New York Yankees. That's the largest guarantee in baseball history for a left-handed pitcher. Just after Thanksgiving, we also saw the Los Angeles Dodgers signed left-hander Blake Snell to a 5-year, $182 million contract. What do you think those types of contracts mean for Tarik Skubal, who is set to become a free agent after the 2026 season? 2 more years of team control. The Tigers already tried and failed to extend him. How do you think Fried and Snell impact things with Skubal, whether it's an extension or a free agency after the 2026 season?
Well, I mean, Skubal pitches anything like he did this past year, these next 2 years. Now you're talking about perhaps a record-setting contract. You're talking about over $300 million. He should get as much as Garrett Cole did and Yamamoto. So you're talking about some big bucks with the way everybody needs pitching. He's been a workhorse. So, yeah, I mean, I think with what happened, it's almost impossible to sign to extension now because who knows where that market's going to be in 2 years. $300 million could be light.
So you think if the Tigers tried to extend Tarik Skubal, it wouldn't just have to be a franchise record extension. It would have to be a MLB record type deal to try to get him done, just considering 1, the way the pitching market is going, and 2, how valuable Tarik Skubal is.
Yeah, I mean, he won't be a free agent yet. So, you won't get over $300 million if he signs now, which is the exact reason why I'm sure Scott Boras would not let him sign. Hey, he wants to test out that market. Very, very rare for someone that close to go ahead and sign an extension. So I'd be real surprised. I don't see it because I think, particularly if Skubal believes himself, might as well hit that market and see if he can get over $300 million.
You really think he can get over $300 million, don't you?
I do. I mean, the way he dominated stuff. I mean, his best pitcher in baseball, young guy, big guy, workhorse. No one's really worrying about any injuries. We'll see. But if he has 2 more years like this, absolutely.
Tarik Skubal's probably really excited to hear you say that he should be set up for a $300 million contract, if not more, once he gets to free agency after the 2026 season. Let's shift gears to shortstop Willy Adames, who signed a 7-year, $182 million contract with the San Francisco Giants. The Tigers actually signed Adames as an international free agent in 2012 when he was a teenager, then traded him to the Tampa Bay Rays in the 2014 David Price trade. What do you think about Adames to the Giants? And a bigger picture question for you. What's the difference between the way Buster Posey is running the Giants compared to Farhan Zaidi? Obviously, Farhan was fired and Buster took over in late September. What have you seen since then?
Yeah, Buster's kind of taking control of negotiations, not messing around. I mean, he drove to Matt Chapman's house, during the summer last year, saying, hey, let's get this done. Kind of did a little bit of an end around, with his agent, Scott Boras, and got to earn $51 million. And I'm sure he took control of this thing too and said, hey, we don't want to wait. I'm sure, Adames was probably thinking, hey, let me see what happens with the Yankees and Soto. Because if the Yankees don't get Soto, I can get a big chunk of that money. So I think the Giants were smart to, jump ahead like that because I think the price would have been, another $15, $20 million.
Obviously, Scott Harris, the president of baseball operations for the Detroit Tigers, worked for Farhan Zaidi in San Francisco. He also worked alongside Craig Breslow with the Chicago Cubs. I want to ask about Breslow because I'm curious. What do you think about the way he's running the show in Boston? It seems like, again, you mentioned it earlier, they've gotten pretty aggressive. When they want something, they're going to go get it.
But they haven't yet. I mean, it kind of reminds you of what happened in San Francisco with Farhan Zaidi, where the fans get upset. Hey, if the Red Sox don't get a big free agent this winter, people there are going to go ballistic because they were talking a big game. Breslow wasn't. But everybody else was, the ownership and, the front office, Sam Kennedy, the president. We'll see what happens. So he's been very careful, very cautious. It kind of reminds you of what Zaidi did. So, you got, at some point, I know you got a good farm system. At some point, you got to win, particularly in Boston. Those fans won't put up with it.
I just thought it was interesting that they went and traded 4 highly regarded prospects to go out and get Garrett Crochet. I thought that was maybe an example of being aggressive, but you think the Red Sox need to take another step?
Well, I mean, they take the extra step by giving an extra year to Max Fried, which the Yankees did. They needed a lefty. So once he went off the board, there was panic setting in. I'm sure they didn't want to give up 4 prospects. At least they didn't give up their first, their top 3 guys at all. Save that. But I think the fans will be, mad at ownership, but in turn take it on Breslow if they don't sign big free agents. Same thing with the Giants. And the Giants ownership wasn't spending the money. So they took it on as Zaidi. And then boom, he's gone.
We already talked about Crochet from the White Sox to the Red Sox, but we have a couple more trades to discuss. The Toronto Blue Jays acquired Andrés Giménez from the Cleveland Guardians for infielder Spencer Horwitz. Then the Guardians flipped Horwitz to the Pittsburgh Pirates for right-hander Luis Ortiz and left-handers Michael Kennedy and Josh Hartle. So the Guardians added Luis Ortiz, Michael Kennedy, and Josh Hartle from the Pirates. They also added Nick Mitchell, an outfielder from the Blue Jays. Why did Cleveland make that trade? And how will trading Giménez, a 3-time Gold Glove winner who made the All-Star team in 2022, impact the Guardians in 2025?
Well, that's a big loss. I mean, you're talking about a great defensive second baseman. Maybe the best in the game. I know they wanted more offense, but it was just a money dump. I think they're going to pay the price for that. You miss a guy like that. Remember a year ago, they were going to try to trade Clase too, their closer. And, thank goodness for them they did it because he had an unbelievable season. But yeah, they get worried about the money and everything else. So I think a lot of things have got to go right for Cleveland to repeat. A lot of things went right last year. What's the chance of it happening 2 years in a row?
It's interesting. Andrés Giménez, when you look at what he's done from B-WAR, which is baseball reference WAR, 7.4 in 2022, 5.3 in 2023, 4 in 2024. So this is a guy who has been consistent year in and year out. How much does this really set them back? Does this really open the door for both the Royals and the Tigers to really grab a hold of that top spot, even if it's just one player like Andrés Giménez walking out the door and going elsewhere in a trade?
It does. I mean, when they come up in spring training, it's like, oh my God, he's not here. Oh, they almost traded Bo Naylor, that sort of thing. They've made some moves to, dump salary. So yeah, that's as a trickle down effect. We'll see. There's a very smart front office. They do things right. They'll get more starting pitching back healthy. So, but no, at least it drops them into the middle of the pack with the Tigers or Royals for sure.
The Texas Rangers acquired Jake Burger from the Miami Marlins for shortstop prospects Echendry Vargas and Max Acosta and left-hander Brian Mendoza. Jake Burger doesn't become a free agent until after the 2028 season. What are your thoughts on the Rangers adding him? I know a lot of fans in Detroit were hoping that the Tigers would trade for Burger because he can play both corner infield positions. There's obviously some question marks at third base with the Tigers. What are they going to get out of Spencer Torkelson at first base? What do you think about Burger and him joining the Rangers and maybe his longevity as a power hitter going through the 2028 season before he becomes a free agent?
That was a great move. I was talking to Bruce Bochy about that at our manager luncheon or breakfast on Wednesday morning. And no, a great guy too. The White Sox never should trade him. He's like the perfect South Side guy. He just looks like a South Side guy. But yeah, he's got plenty of pop, can do different things. Marvelous guy in the clubhouse too. Very well liked by everybody. So I like that move a lot for the Rangers.
Outfielder Tyler O'Neill signed a 3-year, $49.5 million contract with the Baltimore Orioles. Does that mean the Orioles are out on switch-hitting outfielder Anthony Santander, who remains a free agent? And what do you think about Santander's market at this point in free agency?
Yeah, it could be that they're out on him. And they got O'Neill just because they moved the fences in. No way O'Neill signs there if they don't do that. I think Santander ends up in Toronto. It seems like the perfect fit, but he should have a big market, big time bat. I'm interested in what the Orioles do here, and they got to start spending some money. They got a brand new owner. Usually new owners want to spend money. Yeah, they still have the best young players in baseball. You got to take advantage of it. I mean, here's 2 years now when they've been one and done in the playoffs. They got to start winning here before these guys start to get expensive.
Mike Elias, the general manager of the Orioles, has been very patient over the years. He loves his prospects, hasn't spent a ton of money. Obviously, a lot of that, becoming from ownership, right? But now there are new owners in town. What's up with the Orioles? What do they need to do? Because they've been bounced from the playoffs in back-to-back years. It seems like they really need to take that next step. And it seems like pitching is the area of need for them. What do you think about, their options and what they might do?
And they could use a Corbin Burns and bring him back. You don't hear that much about them with him. It sounds like they want to go like the lower tier. I don't think Charlie Moore makes sense for them, but a Moore type of salary, that type of pitcher, I think they need 2 or 3 of those guys. Batista's coming back as a closer after missing all last year. But, he's missed a lot of time. We'll see how he pitches. I think it's going to take time for him to regain that form. But yeah, they need to start spending some money here. When Elias was with Houston, they did the same thing where you're losing 110 games a year. You're the worst team in baseball. And then you get all those draft picks and soon enough, become a power. But Houston became a power once they traded for Garrett Cole, once they traded from Verlander from the Tigers. And then, so at some point, Orioles have to do the same thing.
What is the balance? Because maybe this is the same for both the Orioles and the Tigers. Obviously, they're both kind of at different points, I would say. The Orioles have stockpiled a ton of, talent, young talent. What's the balance between letting young talent develop in the big leagues and saying, okay, like our window is open. It's time to go get some guys. It's time to spend some money and it's time to win now. Whereas the other side of it is like, well, maybe if the young players continue to develop, we won't need to go out and get anybody. Like, what is the balance there when you're looking at teams like the Orioles and the Tigers that are obviously trying to develop from within, but then eventually need to supplement at some point as well?
Yeah, you surely need a veteran pitching staff to help out, the young guys in that staff and everybody else. And that's what Cole and, Verlander did for sure. Yeah, they have the nice young talent. Some of those guys aren't proven, though. Everybody went crazy over Jackson Holiday last year, and he struggled big time. Got sent to the minors, came back, which is just okay. But, these guys have to take time to develop into stars, where I think Houston was ahead of them back in the day when they had, Alex Bregman came up, Altuve, George Springer, Carlos Correa. Those guys were studs early on, and the Astros took full advantage of it.
I've heard the Tigers had interest in Haseong Kim, a right-handed hitting shortstop, also plays second base, also plays third base. He underwent shoulder surgery to fix a torn labrum and won't be ready for opening day. What do you know about Kim's market? And is it hard to gauge how much he will get in years and dollars because of the injury, or am I just overthinking it?
No, you're right. It is hard to gauge. Even talking to the Padre people, they say, what's going to happen? They're not interested at all about bringing him back. And, how's that surgery going to affect his arm? Where's he going to play? Can he still play short, or does he have to move to second? His offense came around, the last couple of years, where before he was completely overmatched. So it's really a nice player, but not a game changer by any means.
What do you think? I mean, obviously, like you said, nice player, but not a game changer. Had the surgery. There's a lot of question marks. What is he going to be like? How is that right arm going to be when it comes to throwing? Like, he's a good all-around player. But what do you think he gets in this kind of market considering the surgery? Like, are we talking about a 1-year bounce back, prove it kind of deal to try to go get 9 figures next offseason? Or is Haseong Kim a guy who might be able to get a 3-year deal, 4-year deal, 5-year deal this time around and just take as much as he can get now, considering some of the question marks?
Yeah, I would think at least a 3-year deal, go that route. I don't see him go on 1 year and test the market again. I don't think it's his personality. Padre guy, the Padre fans love the guy. He played hard, but, there's a lot of neck injuries and stuff that kept him on the lineup. But a good versatility. You can play him in the outfield too. So a good guy to get. But yeah, I'm not sure what that market would be, but my guess would be, 3 years, 4 years tops.
Japanese phenom Roki Sasaki, a right-handed pitcher. The Tigers are interested. They're submitting a presentation. They want to meet with him. President of Baseball Operations Scott Harris and General Manager Jeff Greenberg, they're all in, as is the rest of baseball. Sasaki is an international amateur free agent because of his age, only 23 years old, and he must sign a minor league contract, which restricts how much teams can pay him. He will cost between, I would guess somewhere between $4 and $7 million in international bonus pool money, similar to how the Tigers will sign Chris Rodriguez, the number 4 international prospect, for $3.2 million on January 15th, 2025, when the new international signing period begins. Sasaki is dirt cheap. You get 6 years of team control. Literally everyone is interested. Agent Joel Wolf says small to mid-market teams could make sense for Sasaki because he had a bad experience with the media in Japan. I want to clarify, not Japanese media in the United States, but media in Japan. How do you expect Sasaki to go about this process? Like, what is it going to be like? When is he going to sign? What teams could be in the mix? What do you kind of think about things as now he has just been posted?
Well, I think you and I have a better chance to pitch for the Tigers next year, Evan, than Sasaki. There's no way he's going in it. I think he's either the Dodgers or the Padres. I don't see him going anywhere else. I don't. I guess I won't rule out San Francisco, maybe Seattle. But I think, stays out west. A lot of Japanese influence out there. Obviously, a couple teammates in Ohtani, Yamamoto with the Dodgers. His idol, his mentor is Yu Darvish. The Padres are very confident. And of course, we've been hearing for a year that Sasaki already had a deal worked out with the Dodgers, which is denied, of course, by Joel Wolf, denied by the Dodgers, since obviously it's illegal. But it's a freebie. I mean, like you said, between $5 and $7 million, and all 30 teams want this guy. I mean, remember, Ohtani signed for $2 million with the Angels, similar stuff. And this guy, he's not as polished as, a lot of these pitchers, but more talent than Yamamoto, Darvish, Ohtani, you name it. Unbelievable arm.
So yeah, walk me through that. Like 100 miles an hour, devastating splitter. Seems like the real deal. What's the upside? Like, what's the long-term play when it comes to Roki Sasaki and what he could be in the big leagues?
I mean, with his talent level, he could be a multi-time, Cy Young winner. I mean, he could be a 20-game winner, for sure. Not right away. You need a 6-man rotation with him. He's battled injuries. He didn't have a good year last year, but he's in short spurts. So if you get him for like 20 starts, there's no reason why he can't have a great season right away, but he's not a long season, maybe 140 innings, that sort of thing. But you talk to everybody that's seen him over in Japan, and they go nuts over his talent. I mean, he's better. They would rather have him than Yamamoto, and Yamamoto cost the Dodgers $325 million. This is how good this kid is.
Yeah, and this kid's only going to cost $5 to $7 million. But the Tigers have no chance. Are you sure?
I don't think anybody has a chance outside the Dodgers and the Padres. I really don't. Yeah, I think if the Tigers sign him, I think it would be as big as a surprise as the Tigers have been signed Juan Soto. I just don't see it happening.
Okay, so let me put you on the spot right now. Padres, Dodgers, Roki Sasaki, who gets him and why?
I'm still going to go to the Dodgers because that was always the talk. He's kind of a quiet, shy guy. That way you'll only be on the limelight there, because the limelight is going to be an Ohtani and everybody else in that lineup. But I don't rule out the Padres. So I'll go 75 or 80% Dodgers, 20% Padres, 1% the rest of the field. I think it's just one of those two clubs.
All right, Bob, I think that's all I have for you. You brought a ton of great information on all the big name free agent and trade candidates. Thanks for joining me on this special episode. Let's do it again at some point in the future.
All right, look forward to it. Take care, Evan. Happy holidays.
Again, that was Bob Nightengale, USA Today Sports MLB columnist and insider. Stay tuned for our regular episode of Days of Roar that comes out Monday afternoon. Mark and I will unpack more about the Tigers at the winter meetings and probably talk some more about Alex Bregman. Until then, go in peace.